Ladies and gentlemen, from the Microsoft Theater here in downtown Los Angeles, brought to you by Shawn Porter Promotions.
That's my producer. Should I take this off?
How's that?
How's it? It's coming up good?
Not good, but good enough visually.
We told the story last week about how this bad boy started, and I was like, listen, I'm doing it at my house. I don't care. I'm still going to dress the way that I would dress. This is what I want to present to everybody. This is my Porter way. You do the jerseys.
True.
You do the fitteds. Boom, boom, boom. You here. Yeah. You here.
Got the hair.
And so this is a suit jacket that it's not allowed on TV because it presents like it gives camera, it does tricks to the camera or whatever. And so it's actually, for a minute, I was worried that I wouldn't have enough to kind of keep it going. And then I was like, you know what? I can wear the suits that I can't wear on TV. So I pull one out today. And it's sharp. Y'all just don't know it.
No, it's sharp. I said that before the show.
Yeah, it's sharp.
To close on that, I would just say if it's not good enough for TV, if it doesn't work on TV, maybe there's a reason for
No.
it. That's all.
No.
You think they made up an excuse?
No. Banned from
They told
TV,
them it was
like
the cameras messed up. But
yeah, they're like, yeah, man, the cameras don't seem to pick that up.
Put my order in, got out the Fox one weekend. It took a couple. Good thing. And a couple of them was like this. And they say, yeah, you can't wear that. I was like, what? Damn. They gave me the whole rundown. And so I kind of shoved them in the closet. But this is the day that I decided to wear something like this. I think it's sharp, me personally. Okay. Hopefully y'all think
those
it's sharp.
suits are attention grabbers.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what you need when you're on screen.
You know what I mean? That too.
I can't wait till you bring out the leprechaun look on the show.
That ain't gonna happen.
Come on, man. I need
That's
that.
one and done.
Hey, people, they know I know you. They was like, what's up with your boy dressed like that, man? What's your boy? Like, hey, it's a conversation starter.
That went over my head. And people started talking, oh yeah, I'm like, oh, it's St. Patty's Day today, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was Spence versus Mikey, right? I called you Don Juan, Bishop Don Juan that night. Yeah.
So
sparring partner.
But listen, man, this is how it goes. But this is Motivational Monday. This is our 4th episode. I'm trying to grow this thing. What I want to do is extend motivation, extend inspiration, all that. I've tried to do that in the ring. I've tried to do that now with the microphone and with this being our podcast. I'm not going to say my podcast, but our podcast. We have an opportunity to do this practically whenever we want to. So for the time being, once a month, the first Monday of the month, you will get a Motivational Monday episode. And I pulled this bad boy out because we got a bad man coming to the Porter Way podcast with us. He goes by the name Iceman. So if you see, it's a little blue, it's a little white. You know, I tried.
I got the ice on. Look at you on the ice.
He was the Iceman.
That's enough.
John was the Iceman before Chuck Liddell.
There you go.
The original Iceman.
I ain't gonna say all that. Go ahead and do it then.
Hey, can we get a celebrity fight?
Ooh. I don't know if he wants. Let's bring him on. John, the Iceman Scully from Connecticut. Great man to the sport. I promise you're going to find out real soon. Great man to the sport and just a great human being in general. Was a great boxer and now a great coach and does some commentary as well still. So, John, Iceman Scully, welcome to the Porter Way podcast.
Yes, sir. I'm glad to be here. I'm excited.
Now, listen, I'm going to go, as I always do, and then I'm going to let the guys go. But my dad said, when you go to Connecticut for these Olympic Games, you're going to be gone for 3 weeks. You need to keep moving. He looked at me and said, who do we know in Connecticut? I said, I don't know. Out of nowhere, he pulls your name, John Scully. And I was like, dang, Scully's in Connecticut. I didn't even know that. You know what I mean? So your roots go all the way back to Connecticut. I was able to come out there, get some work with you while I was out there doing the Olympic broadcast for the boxing. And you taught me a few things. Of course, we got the storytelling as always, which we will get on this show as well. But we just wanted to give you a pretty decent introduction and allow you to be yourself today. And we will definitely get to some motivation. But to get things started, what I want to do is show a little bit of your talent that people don't know about. And that's your talent to tell stories. And I know you know all about your talent to tell stories. You probably don't even look at it as a talent, but there was a question presented to me through the podcast. One of the fans said, hey, who are some fighters that you saw that were great that never made it? And all of our stuff is live. So when Carson here presented that question to me, literally, you were the first person that jumped out. When I started to try to think of who do I know that didn't make it that these people would know about, I said, the only person that can answer that question is John Scully. And then lo and behold, here you are now. So to kick things off, what I want to do is kind of show your history and what you know about this boxing game, who you saw come through the ranks, who you saw made it, who you saw didn't make it. And let's start right there. Who are some of the great amateur fighters that you came up with?
I saw Roy Jones fight for the first time at the National Golden Gloves, 1986. I called my father. I said, I just saw the guy who's going to the Olympics in 1988. And nobody really knew Roy at the time. And I just called everybody I know. I said, you're not going to believe this kid. This kid is unbelievable. And he's the only guy I knew was going to be world champion. As soon as I saw him, I said, there's no way this guy doesn't become world champion. It wasn't even a question in my mind. I saw Riddick Bowe back when he had the huge afro. Like Bowe had a huge afro back, and he looked just like Coolidge. Remember the show The White Shadow?
No.
You know, you're too young for that. You got to Google it. Google it on YouTube, and
you saw Roy Jones in '86, and I was born in '87. So
right, okay. Well, when I saw Roy the first time, I knew he was going to be world champion, no doubt. But
how old was he right there?
He was so he must have been 17.
Yeah. And what was it about him that you were like, he's the one?
You know, besides the obvious skill, right? The one thing about him, he had a presence about him that was so magnetic and powerful. It was a crazy thing. I remember, I'll tell you what, I remember at the 1987 Nationals in Knoxville, Tennessee. He fought for Knoxville. He lived in Florida, but he fought for Knoxville for some reason because he was in northern Florida, so that was their region. And I remember every fight. He was the only one that could get away with this. Every fight before while they were waiting in the ring to announce the winner, he would come up the steps and get in the ring and shadow box. Oh, wow. You know, and they never threw him out. They never told him he can't do that. And you know, that's like anybody else would have been gone. But he just had this persona, this magnetic thing about him. I'll tell you what, 1987 actually is when I first saw him. I saw him in 86, but I didn't really pay attention. 87 is when I watched him, and I called my father. I have a picture I could show you. Matter of fact, I'm going to text you later. I have the picture. I saw him fight. He was standing over by the side of the ring. I went over to him after. I said, listen, I got to get a picture of you. You're going to be somebody. And I took a picture of him. I still have the picture. Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a name that we don't know from back then that didn't make it, and you were like, man, this guy, he's got it all, and then somewhere along the way he kind of lost himself?
There are more names that didn't make it than did, and now you could tell me back in my era, people would say, 156 pounds. That was Roy Jones. That was Tim Littles. That was Gerald McClellan. That was Frankie Lyles. And I said, yeah, but it was Kevin Bryant and it was Mylan Watkins also. Nobody knows these guys. Mylan Watkins won the National Golden Gloves 3 years in a row. A superstar amateur. And it's really funny that I'm talking about him now because literally a half an hour ago, I was talking on the phone to Emmett Lint. If you remember Emmett Lint. I was on the phone. He told me he saw Mylan a couple of days ago. Mylan got in a little bit of trouble on an international trip going to Russia in '87, and they suspended him for 2 years. I don't remember what he did, but 2 years, you know. So that ruined his Olympic chances in '88. So he went pro, had a couple fights, and that was it. He never did anything past that. Mylan won the National Golden Gloves 3 years in a row. Was a great amateur. Kevin Bryant, who I saw a couple weeks ago in Atlantic City. Kevin Bryant won the U.S. Championships 85, He won. He stopped 4 out of 5 opponents. And in the amateurs, they hardly stop anybody. He stopped 4 out of 5, including future WBA super middleweight champion Frankie Lyles. Kevin stopped a lot of guys in the amateurs. That's not even a surprise. There was him. There's Lionel Odom out of New York City, who I just saw recently at an amateur tournament. Lionel was Junior Jones was telling me recently. He said Lionel might be the best guy he's ever been in the ring. Lionel Odom. They call him Skeletor. You could ask guys back from the early 90s. You ask guys in New York about Lionel Odom. Now you could, Mark Breland, this one, that one, Riddick Bowe. Lionel Odom was right up there with all those guys. 100%.
And I appreciate you for repeating those names, because I know everybody's going to get on here and they're going to start looking up these names and finding out who these guys were and saying, right. Wow, I can't believe this guy didn't make it. I'm going to ask you one more, then I'm going to let these guys go. How old were you when you first started boxing as amateur?
Well, I was 12 the first time I ever boxed with anyone. I created my own league. I live in a town called Windsor, and I called the championship the WBC, the Windsor Boxing Council. And I went 9-0. I beat 9 kids from Windsor. and it's funny, I still have it. I have the names all written down. My first fight was in 1980, so I was like 12. My first time in a real boxing gym I was 14. My first official fight, I was 15.
And in my opinion, I know you very well. I feel like you've seen it all. What was it that kept you boxing? And especially, as an amateur, what was it about the amateur program that made you kind of want to do it and continue to do it?
Well, I'll tell you a funny thing. When I started boxing in the gym, when I first started boxing as a kid, I wanted to pretend I was boxing. I was Muhammad Ali, right? So I used to box on the bed, and the bed would be like I would consider my bed as a boxing ring, and I would do everything. I would do the pre-fight introductions. I would do the announcement. I would read the scorecards. I did it all, and so the only reason I really went to a boxing gym at 14. I wanted to pretend I was Muhammad Ali with real people, not just, wow. You know what I mean? So I would go there. It was almost like just pretend. I was just pretending, you know what I mean? And I'll tell you a funny thing. When my first day in the gym, I remember the kid I sparred with. I was 14. He was 17. His name was Mark Sear. And I get in the ring. Now, I thought everybody boxed like Muhammad Ali. I thought everybody did that. So I got on my toes and I was, I'm bouncing and everything. And I don't think I hit him very much, but he didn't hit me at all. And so right after the sparring, he's like, oh, man, so how long have you been boxing? I said, like 15 minutes. Like I just started. And he thought I was a fighter from another gym. He thought I had switched gyms. So I had a little base to me because I was a big fan of the sport and of Ali. So the thing that kept me going was just like living out a childhood dream. Like as a kid, I wanted to be on TV. I wanted to be like, I didn't want money. I'm the only guy in the history of the planet who didn't box for money. I did not. That was not my motivation at all. Like it's bizarre. I'll give you an example. I went to spar with Roy Jones for the first time as a pro, right? And I just want to box Roy Jones, right? That's all I care about. At the end of the first week, they paid me. And I looked at the money. I asked the guy, I go, what's this? He goes, that's your pay. That's your salary. I said, oh yeah, good. And in my mind, I'm like, I would have done it for free. Like you guys don't even understand. I'm just in this because I just want to see who's the best, and I want to box with the best, and I want to be on TV, and I want to be famous. So that was me. That was me.
Okay, last one for me. Excuse me, and I'm gonna let these guys go. Because I want everybody to see how much this dude loves boxing. I didn't know this about you. As people in your area know this about you. all of the coaches and the fighters know this about you. I didn't know until I was out there with you. What do you do every birthday?
I spar. I spar.
How long have you been sparring on your birthday?
20 years, like forever. But definitely, yeah, that's what I do. I had a kid. I'll tell you a quick story. I had to reach a certain amount of rounds. I believe this was in 2007. I had to reach. I made a goal of I'm going to spar 300. And I wasn't even fighting at that. My last fight was 2001. This is 2007. Mm-hmm. I'm retired. I'm like 40. And in matter of fact, I was 40. I turned 40. I had to make 300 rounds of sparring for the year. I was at 298. It was New Year's. It was December, the last day of the year. So I'm like, I got to spar today or else I'm going to miss 300 rounds. So I'm calling everybody. It's a blizzard out, right? It's a blizzard. Everybody's like, what are you, crazy? Like there's a Connecticut wide warning. You can't even leave the house. I said, listen, I'm going to the gym. Somebody's meeting me at the gym and we're going to spar at least 3 rounds. And my fighter, Sammy Vega, I called him. I'm like, Sammy, you got to do it. He goes, let's do it tomorrow. I go, no. Tomorrow's January 1st. We either do it today or I miss 300 rounds. He got in his car. We went over to the gym in a blizzard and we did like 5 rounds.
Did you ever get dropped in a birthday sparring?
No.
Good. That'd be the shittiest birthday present in history.
Shitty question.
I'm just wondering. I mean, that feels like that'd be a rough birthday present.
One more.
You might just stop saying that.
I know.
Just take it.
Because I don't want to step on y'all. I want everybody to enjoy this. Because you told me the craziest story that I've ever heard. First of all, that's a crazy story. How old are you, Scully?
54.
Right now, 54.
54, and he still spars every birthday, which I think is just bizarre. I'm gonna go ahead and say I think it's bizarre.
You're not gonna carry that tradition?
No.
Okay.
Even more bizarre is what were you doing on your what were you anticipating doing on your wedding day?
Okay. Now my wife's right down the hall, so she'll hear this. So 2007, so I turned 40. So I got my sparring all set up in advance. July 28, 2007, I'm going to spar with this guy, that guy, 4 rounds each. I'm going to do 12 rounds. So I happened to mention it to her. I said, yeah, I'm sparring with Sammy and Jose and this one, that one. She goes, I don't think you should spar that day. I said, what do you mean? I always spar. She goes, but you might get bruised. You might get a cut. I said, what's the big deal? Like I said, but it's boxing. She goes, you really shouldn't. She's trying to talk me out of it. So she sees I'm not going for it. I'm set in my ways. She said, well, you can't spar that day because you're getting married. and this was like 2 weeks out. And I'm like, what do you mean? She goes, it's all set. My parents are coming in. Everybody, Sammy's your best man. The reception is at Manili's and your suit's all ready and you're getting married at 12 o'clock on that day. Yeah. So I said, all right, I'll spar the day before.
Yeah. This dude didn't even know he was getting married. He ain't proposed.
I was like,
Yeah, he didn't get no ring. And the day that he's gonna spar on his birthday, he says everybody knows that I spar on my birthday. My wife knows that I spar on my birthday, but it's what she wanted, and I had to take this one for the team. So congratulations on getting married on your birthday, the same day you're supposed to spar.
Hey, do you consider Darren Allen? You guys had a couple of wars. Do you consider that? How good was it, and do you consider that a rivalry?
Yeah, a rivalry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, we were. He was. I'll tell you what. A lot of people say, I would rather die than lose to this guy, right? And they don't mean that. Like, people don't mean that. They don't, if you, in the heart of hearts, they don't want to die, right? They're just saying that to illustrate how bad they want to win. When I fought Darren Allen, I was ready to die, right? And let me tell you a funny thing. A couple of years ago, and I saved it. I printed it out and saved it. He's my Facebook friend. I really looked up to Darren Allen. Darren Allen was world champion. He had beaten 3 Olympic gold medalists in his amateur career. He had beaten everybody, right? And he beat Anthony Hembrick 4 times. He beat Henry Moskey. He beat Stephen McCrory. He beat Frank Tate. I mean, he beat everybody. William Guthrie. And a few years ago, Darren Allen put up a picture of me, and he said, besides Anthony Hembrick, this was one of my biggest rivals, blah, blah, blah. He said he fought me like he'd rather die than lose. And as soon as, he's just saying that like, wow, he fought really hard. And I'm like, man, he's dead on accurate. I would have rather died. And I was ready to die that day, not any other day, but that day. And people say, oh, what was the happiest moment of your life? Now, anyone would say, the day your daughter was born, your child, right? Mm-hmm. But here's the thing, and it's, I have a different way of thinking, right? When I fought Darren Allen, I didn't know I won until they said it, right? And when they said it, I jumped numerous times. I'm maybe 15 or 20 times. I jumped so high. I have a picture. I got to show you the picture, Shawn. I have a picture of me jumping. I am at Olympic level vertical, right? Yeah. No, really, like I'm at Olympic level, right?
You could have dunked.
I was jumping so high. As I was doing it, I was saying, I can't control my body. I can't, I'm going to keep. I literally thought I was going to jump out of the ring, and I actually had to grab the top ropes with my glove to stop me from hurtling out of the ring. Wow. Now, when my daughter was born, one of the greatest days of my life. But I knew, you'll understand, I knew it was going to happen. It wasn't a surprise. So, you know what I mean? I was like very, very happy, obviously. But when I beat Darren, I didn't know I beat Darren until they said so. So that's like a lottery. You know what I mean? That's, guess what? You just won the lottery. So that was a happiness. I wanted to beat Darren Allen more than I wanted to breathe. And I mean that. They might have
sedated you at the hospital if you were jumping around like that.
The funny thing about that story, though, is he is exactly right. Shaddai being born, happiest moment of my life. But winning the WBC title is like the feeling. I remember, I'll never forget the feeling was like, it was basically the exact same as Shaddai being born. Winning the WBC title was. And so you're right. I do understand what you're saying. Right. But the funny thing about that is, like you said, you knew that your daughter was coming. There's no surprise there. For me, having my first child, like he had to come out. I counted every finger and every toe like 50 times because I kept miscounting. Like he had to be there. You know what I mean? And I had the exact same feeling about that WBC. I had to have that WBC. Now my second child was born. I cared, but it really wasn't the same thing.
Was it WBC first child? IVF,
don't do that. Don't do that.
Child?
Don't be stupid. Don't be stupid.
It's child WBC for sure.
And then okay.
Yeah, but it's very close. I understand what you're saying. It was very close for me.
Hey, let me tell you one thing though. On that note, Shawn, they didn't tell me about the cone head, like when a baby's born.
I was tripping too.
they didn't tell me about that.
Yeah.
And I remember going, I was very calm. And in my head, I'm like,
Dan Aykroyd?
In my exactly just like that. And in my head, I'm like, this is bad. Like this is really bad. But I didn't react because I didn't want anybody to get scared. And I figured, we got a problem, but it's gonna be we're gonna love this child just like
Hey, Scully, I had the exact same experience. They didn't tell me about the head, and then my son was born with a lot of hair. I kept it together just like you, but I swear to God, my first thought as his head was coming out was, oh no, he's a rat. Doesn't make sense, but I think in the moment you go through a lot, and for me it was like I just wanted him to be here, and I needed him to be safe and all right and all that. And so when the hair starts coming out, I'm like, I kept it together, but in my head I said, oh no, it's a rat. Yeah. And for the first few months of his life, I called him Ratoncito because he was a rat to me until his whole body came out.
Believe me, I understand. I understand.
Yeah. This. Hey, boxer to boxer.
Yeah.
No, but before I get to a question for you, John, I think when you were talking about how you were with Darren, and it was obvious just watching your fights that you were the kind of guy who really would go through anything. And it's kind of like, Shawn talked about earlier, the guys you remember that didn't win world titles, but that kind of stuff, you're like Mickey Ward. You guys almost got the same record, and you fought everybody, fought for the world title, and do you feel like that's part of why people remember you so much, maybe even more than guys who did win a title here and there?
Right. I think so. It's funny. It's just like me. When I was a kid, I watched, boxing, and I remember guys who maybe people don't remember, but I remember certain fights, and wherever I go, people always remember my fight with Michael Nunn. I don't care where I go. And I mean, England, I've been, a lot of places.
You got robbed, man. I watched that.
It could be, it was close. And if you were scoring it a certain way, depending on what you like, I could certainly see how I won that fight. I could see that. But my point is, win or lose, that fight brought me respect and it brought me attention. And to this day, I mean, we're talking, it was 25, 26 years ago. If people meet me for the first time, I tell my friend, I go, watch, $20 says this dude mentions Michael Nunn in the first 2 minutes. And sure enough, in the first, 2 minutes of conversation, Michael Nunn's name comes up.
And John, sorry guys, I got a lot for John, so I'm trying to see where we go first. But like whenever I hear you talk or call the fights on ESPN Classic, you always reminded me of these great East Coast boxing minds, Customato or Teddy. But the difference is you actually box professionally, unlike those guys. But hearing you talk about it on the show, it's awesome because you sound like a guy who was a fan first before he learned how to fight. And yeah, do you feel like that a little bit? Like you're one of the sideline guys who actually got in there and got to experience it.
Right. Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. And everybody uses different things. As trainers say, you use a different, agenda or skills or whatever. Me personally, I always say I'm not a trainer, a guy who trains fighters. I'm a fighter who trains fighters. And what by that I mean, everything I tell you as a trainer, I go from personal experience. I know, and I have an edge, and it may never come to fruition, but it has in certain fights where I could be in a corner and I can look at a guy's face and I can tell him why he's doing what he's doing. I could tell him what he's thinking at that very moment. And I've had guys literally look at me with their eyes wide open. And then later on, they'll be like, man, how did you know I was thinking that? Or how did you know I was feeling that at that moment? I said, man, it's a universal thing. I can, we feel it. And we've all been in these certain situations. So if I have any kind of edge as a trainer, and again, it might not always come to fruition, but there's been moments certainly that it has where me being a fighter has helped me help guys win fights, get through fights, become better fighters. So me being a boxer, I wouldn't trade that for anything.
John, would you we got to ask you a little bit about the big ones coming up. Do you think, because everyone's talking about Malik Scott being the former fighter, do you think that's a good thing for Deontay, that he's got the former fighter in his corner like you were for Chad Dawson, or is that tough to overcome, no experience in the corner yet, even if you did have a big professional career?
Well, I mean, the thing is, Mark Breland was a fighter, greatest amateur ever, and he was there. And I think in that particular instance, I think that my gut feeling is that Wilder is affected psychologically by Fury. I think that fight damaged him, and put him in a hole that's going to be extremely hard to dig out of. And I always say one thing about me, I always say, and I've thought this for a long time, and I've noticed it with fighters, and I say, and especially in this era of the social media, it's gotten out of control. And I tell fighters, at the end of the day, it does not matter what your trunks look like. It doesn't matter how good you hit the mitts. It doesn't matter what your ring walk music is. It doesn't matter what celebrity is shouting you out in this song. None of that matters. The only thing that matters is the fight. And, so when I see guys doing flashy mitt routines and all that stuff excessively, it tells me that maybe their focus is more on being famous and letting people know this and letting people know they're doing that instead of, I worry about the guys that don't want to be on social media. Those are the guys I'm like, man, he's not worried about, how many likes he got today. He's probably somewhere running up hills or mountains. And so I think, with Wilder, I think they're almost like trying too hard to show how great he looks. But the thing is, the mitts means nothing. I could go to the Ohio State Fair in August and show you a 12-year-old kid that looks like Roy Jones on the mitts. And it doesn't mean anything. And especially if you're going to videotape yourself, you're not going to put the worst one on social media. You're going to put the good one on social media. So all I've learned so far from the training camp is that he looks pretty good on the mitts. Now, if that's enough to beat Tyson Fury, I don't know.
I'm glad you touched on the State Fair. A lot of people don't know this, but that at one point in time was that tournament at one point in time, was it bigger than the USA Championships? I think when you were fighting, what was it called? What was it called?
The USA ABF Championships or just
USA? Yeah.
But
the ABF,
the Ohio State Fair had many more fighters than the US. Like they would have over 600 guys in the tournament. And here's the thing that's made the Ohio State Fair so great. And now, Shawn, you understand this. I don't know if the other guys do, but like say for example, in Shawn's region, Ohio and part of Michigan and whatever, every year only one guy in that weight class goes to the nationals. So out of Ohio and part of Michigan and whatever. But you go to the Ohio State Fair, there could be 5 guys who could have been a national champion in your state, but they can't even get out of the state. Like for example, in when I was an amateur in Region 5, you had Darren Allen, Fabian Williams, Joe Lipsy, Ed Kendall, Cody King. I mean, you had 5 or 6 guys just in that region, and only one of them can get out of it. But if they all went to the Ohio State Fair, they could all fight each other. So at the Ohio State Fair, you had the best of the best of the best fighting each other day after day after day. I mean, it's an unbelievable tournament. It was an unbelievable tournament.
Yeah, and if anybody caught it way back in the day when I fought Devin Alexander, there was a little bit of a discrepancy in terms of the age that we were when we fought. Devin was saying, I beat you once as an amateur, I'm going to beat you again. My dad was saying, you were a couple years older than my son when we fought. It's a different ball game now. I was saying, we pros. That was when we was young. It don't even matter. And then here comes John Iceman Scully on Facebook with the bout sheet that shows our ages and weights and the day that we fought. And it showed that there was only a 1-year separation between the two of us. You have all of this memorabilia.
Yeah.
I feel like I understand you. You're a historian. And I think now you're a historian on purpose now, but I want to know when did that start for you when you were like, hey, let me grab this, let me get a picture with this guy, let me get this autograph, let me make sure I save this bout sheet and all that. How did that start?
My father, my mother and father got divorced when I was a kid. So on the weekends, I would go stay with him. Now, my father was older at the time. I think he was like 44 when I was born. So he wasn't the type of guy to play sports with me, and that wasn't his thing, so I was left on my own in that regard. So in his room, he had all kinds of books, and he had the ring record book from 1952. He had Muhammad Ali, Willie Pep, and Sugar Ray Robinson's autobiography. So every weekend for years, those are the 4 books I read over and over and over. And so I knew those books like the back of my hand. The ring record book, I knew all these names, and I could tell you this guy beat that guy in 1944, and it just I didn't even remember it on purpose. I remembered it just because I loved it. And I'll tell you a funny thing. I read something once and they said part of being good in school is loving the subject. Like if you love math, you're going to do good in math. If you hate math, you're probably not going to do as well as the kid who loves it. And so I loved all these tournaments and results. And I was always interested, even like when you guys were kids and you fought Devin, when I saw that, I was like, man, that's crazy. And it didn't matter. You guys were like 13. It didn't matter. Like that was an interesting result. So I was always into that. And it's turned into a thing. I'll give you an example. And this is kind of cool. I don't know if I told you this, but David Sample, who was he's in Las Vegas, as a matter of fact. I don't know if you've ever run across him, but he was a good lightweight back in the day, back in the 90s, David Sample. And he was a good amateur in the 80s. So Russ Amber was at the fight a few months ago. Might have been Tyson Fury, whoever it was. So Russ calls me. Now, you know, Russ Amber, he owns Rival Products. And, so he calls me one day. He goes, Scully, listen, I'm with Kevin Childrey. He's trying to remember. He fought in the 1988 National Golden Gloves. He can't remember who he fought. And I go, well, what weight was he? He's like 132. I go, where was the guy from that he fought?
That's crazy.
He goes, Michigan. I go, oh, that was Kevin Childrey. and I said it like in 2 seconds, like 1.5. And I could hear David Sample in the background go, that's it. That's it. So I don't know how I remember that, but it literally just popped out of my mouth in 1 second. I said, Kevin Childrey, Michigan, 132.
Do you have any just all-time favorite pieces of memorabilia?
I have the book, The Greatest, which I read, when I was maybe 11, that my father had. I still have it. I have that book. That's probably the first, most vital piece of, property that I own. And so I kept that book. That's like the Bible to me in a way. So I kept that. That was my most important. My father always told me, write everything down and take pictures. Write everything down, take pictures. So I did. I wrote everything down. I have diaries from when I was 14, and I'll be like, I watched, Livingstone Bramble against Ray Mancini. It was a good fight. 14th round. It was a bad cut. They had to stop the fight. I have all these details. So I wrote everything down and I saved everything. So I have pictures of, like I say, Roy Jones when I met him for the very first time, like literally the very first moment I met him. I have me and Willie Pep when I was 15. I have me and Muhammad Ali when I was 15. I have a lot of good stuff. I have a picture of, and Shawn, Bones Adams. Bones Adams was a world champion. I met Bones when he was 13. And I said, and he had twice as many fights. I was 19. He was 13. Wow. He had twice as many fights as I did. And I actually looked up to him. Like we both won the Ohio State Fair the same week, but he's a really experienced kid. And Bones was a cool kid, but I took a picture with him when he's 13, the same way I did with Roy. I said, "Man, this kid's good. This kid's interesting. I'm gonna take a picture with him," and I still got it. All these years, 34 years later, I still got a picture with him.
And they say Midwest produce the world's best boxers. I mean, the East Coast, Northeast, you guys not bad. Floyd Patterson, Mike Tyson, you yourself.
But here's the thing. Okay. Let me tell you, they always say, well, the Midwest had Sugar Ray Robinson, right?
Yep.
Nah, he didn't box in the Midwest. He didn't box till he got to New York.
Yep.
Oh, so they just claim just because he was born out there, huh?
Yeah, he lived in Detroit, but he didn't box till he moved to Harlem. Mm-hmm. So, and I've been to the gym. If you go to YouTube, I have a video of me in the building where the gym was, where he trained in the 1930s. It was called the Salem Crescent Athletic Club. It's the basement of a church in Harlem, and the room is still there. And I went there and I did a little tour. So Ray Robinson, he didn't box in Detroit. He hung out at the Brewster Center, a gym, which I think might still be there. He hung out there and he carried Joe Louis's bag, like when Joe Louis would leave the gym. But Ray was not a boxer in Detroit, so you really can't claim a guy who didn't actually box there.
No, we'll claim him.
So New York has Ray.
That's New York, baby. Do you feel like he is the greatest still pound for pound in your eye? I mean, yeah.
Well, here's the problem with that. There are people who have never seen Ray Robinson throw a punch in their lives, who insist he is the greatest of all time only because they heard Bert Sugar say it and they read it and they want to sound good. And they go, yeah, Ray Robinson, they name drop. And I go, really? Name 5 guys he fought. They can't tell you, it just shows almost like mass manipulation. Like if we tell you enough times, you'll go, yeah, that's true. That's crazy. That's true. And then, so if you tell me Ray Robinson is the greatest of all time, I have no problem with that. But you have to be able to tell me more than 3 guys that he fought. You have to be able to tell me anything about his career other than just, it's like when people say Harry Greb was a
that's the worst. Yeah.
And I'm going,
there's no
video. You've never seen Harry Greb. So what are you talking about? Like, I'll give you an example. And people will disagree, and I believe deep down they disagree because they think they're supposed to. But people will say Jack Johnson is a top 5, top 10 all-time great heavyweight, right? No. He's a historical figure. What he did is top 10 important. Mm-hmm. But if you can't watch him fight and tell me Joe Frazier wouldn't have pinned him to the ropes and annihilated him, like. Jack Johnson never fought on the inside. Guys back then, they didn't fight on the inside and bully each other in the corner. Everybody fought stand-up. And his stand-up was so much better than those guys because they were 40 pounds overweight and they were unathletic guys. They weren't even, today they wouldn't even be club fighters. So Jack Johnson in a 15-round fight, in a square ring against Joe Frazier, I'm going with Joe all day, every day.
John, can I at least name 5 guys that Robinson fought?
Let's have a name off.
Fought Bobo Olsen, Rocky Graziano, Carmen Basilio, Kid Gavilan, Jake LaMotta, Joey Maxim, Randy Turpin.
Keep going.
Now that was all later though. Who did he beat? Who did he beat for the welterweight title?
It wasn't Kid Gavilan, was it? It wasn't.
No, it wasn't. No.
Who was it, John?
Tommy Bell.
Okay.
Yeah,
I know he beat LaMotta at least for middleweight title.
We're going to replace you on the show.
I told you he beat me.
Yeah. But listen, here's another thing about. Now look, I'm not downing Ray Robinson at all. Ray Robinson was a phenomenon. But do you realize how many even boxing fans don't know this fact? Ray Robinson absolutely was saved by the bell in one of those fights against Jake LaMotta. The fight was over and he got saved by the bell. That is a fact.
Is that the one they showed in the movie where he gets knocked through the ropes and they?
No, that was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. LaMotta.
No, but earlier in the movie, LaMotta knocks him through the ropes.
Right.
And he's pissed off because he feels like he got right. I think it was their third fight.
That must be the one then. Yeah, I didn't really pay attention. I hate the fight scenes in movies. They're horrible. I'm the type of guy, I'll watch these movies and everybody's into it. And I'm like, I'll be like, yeah, but that was, Rocky fought Apollo in the first day of 1976. I go, Ali had just fought Frazier 2 months earlier. What are you guys talking about?
I couldn't get Shawn to watch Rocky for kind of the same reasons. I think
I can't enjoy it because I'm going over the timeline in my head, and I'm going. But what about George Foreman? Where was he?
We did that when did Peter Quillen play? Roger Mayweather.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm not believing this. That's Peter's Kid Chocolate.
Yeah.
So I guess the obvious question is, who is the greatest of all time then, for you?
I mean, Now, granted, see, here's where things get sketchy.
Yeah.
Now, Ray Robinson had 19 losses, right?
Most of them when they were old, right, John?
No, most of them, yeah. But here's my thing. People brutalize Roy Jones for all his later on losses. I mean, you got to understand, Roy Jones didn't lose till he was 35 years old. He had already been a pro for like 15 years before, not counting Montel Griffin fight. He had been a pro for 15 years. I believe he was already 35 when he got knocked out by Tarver. I mean, you got to give the man some credit. Roberto Duran on his best day, Sugar Ray Leonard on his best day, Muhammad Ali on his best day, Henry Armstrong, Roy Jones. Those guys could be the best, Roy Jones, who in the history of the planet or any planet would have beat Roy Jones at his best at 168. Who would have beat him? Ray Robinson was way too small. Ray Robinson wouldn't have beat Roy Jones. Forget it.
Some people like to talk about him and Ward at 68. I think Roy wins, but
Roy's different. Roy's a different level. And and people don't know this. And again, I have to say I love Ray Robinson. Boom. I was in a gym. Actually, I remember the gym. It was run by a guy named Mike Martino, who was a real good amateur back in the 80s. There's a gym in Reno, and they have a huge picture of Sugar Ray Robinson, and it's got his record, all his fights, and it gives like a little synopsis of every fight. Little 2 lines, 1 line, right? I'm reading it, and I was amazed how many times Sugar Ray Robinson got dropped in his career. And I mean, he got dropped many times, not 2 or 3. I mean, he got dropped plenty. He got up and won most of the time. But, he had weaknesses that people overlook. Like, I'll give you an example. This is how history is amusing to me. It's, I don't even get angry. I think it's amusing. If you Google the perfect punch, they will say when Sugar Ray Robinson hit Gene Fullmer with the left hook, he hit him with a left hook and just debilitated him on impact, won the title. And after the fight, it's a famous thing where Robinson was in the ring celebrating and Fullmer woke up and he's like, man, how come those guys are celebrating before the fight? Like he thought the fight hadn't started yet. He had already gotten knocked out. Mm-hmm. Now, they call that the perfect punch. He hit him with the hook. It was just brutal. Yet his right hand was literally below his waist. Literally below his waist. If I did that, they would go, look at a sloppy, look at this guy. He's a club fighter. He got his hand down by his knee. But Ray Robinson does it, and they go, perfect punch. It's not the perfect punch. If it was perfect, his right hand would have been by his cheekbone. So guys like that get a certain level of pass that other fighters just wouldn't get.
Hey Scully, we're gonna have you back because I know you got more. We all got more. Yeah. We're gonna have you back. Y'all already know. So listen, this is Motivational Monday. We may get him back for another Motivational Monday. We may just bring him back because he is who he is. Iceman's got all the stories. I don't know a better storyteller in boxing than Iceman. But I want to keep it going because you got a few things going on that I want to make sure people know about. We got about 12 minutes left. Okay. First off, you came out here some years back and you tried to do a reunion. Tell us a little bit about that because you got another one coming up. And I know right now it's not open to the public, but I just want people to know that there are people out there, boxers out there, former fighters, coaches, so on and so forth, that try to get us all together. Let everybody know about this fraternity that we have within boxing and how we all try to get together and what you're trying to do for us to be together.
Right. Well, what happened was I always kept in touch with fighters. I would meet a guy at the Nationals and I said, give me a number. I'll give you a call sometime. I would write letters to him and, and then somebody from Ohio would go, yeah, whatever happened to Obie Beard in Knoxville, Tennessee? I'd be I got his number here, call him, and so they'd call him. And so I would be linking these guys up from California and Vermont and Boston and Chicago. So, and then guys would be like, and Emmanuel Stewart actually was the first one who made me realize, he goes, you know everybody. You know everybody. Like everybody I know comes up to me and goes, yeah, John Scully said to tell you hi, and so I started thinking about it and I said, man, every time I see somebody, they're always like, whatever happened to next time you're with him, call me. I said, you know what? I'm going to do something better. I'm going to get everybody together in the same place and we're all going to hang out one night. And we went to New York and there was about 7 of us. Junior Jones was there. Iran Barkley was there and we hung out. And I'm telling them, I'm going, do you realize if we plan ahead and I call everybody, we'll do something big. Fast forward, and we're in Las Vegas a few years ago, and we've got Mickey Bay and Cortez Bay and Shawn, who I didn't realize, and I have it on film. I'm sure you've seen it, Shawn, where I'm talking to you guys, and I didn't realize you guys grew up together. They used to walk you to school, I guess, or hold your hand across the street. Right. Yeah. So
true story.
Yeah. And, and I had, I'll tell you I'll tell you the perfect story real quick. This is powerful. I don't know if you guys know this. Now, in 1980, the plane crashed, the United States boxing team, the whole team passed away. Sarge Johnson, the Mule, Steve Mules, all these guys.
Yeah.
Alex Ramos, who's going to be at my reunion in California next month. Alex Ramos, the Bronx Bomber. Him beating Mike McCallum in the New York City Golden Gloves saved his life.
Oh, wow.
And I'm going to tell you how.
Wow.
He fought Mike McCallum in the semifinals. Alex was scheduled to be on that plane to go to Poland. He beat Mike McCallum to make it to the finals of the New York City Golden Gloves. It was for his 4th consecutive title, which only like two guys had ever done previously. The New York City Golden Gloves to New York boxers is like the world championship. It's huge. If he lost to Mike McCallum, he would have been on that plane.
Wow.
He beat Mike McCallum and saved his own life without realizing it. In 2014, when you were there at my reunion, I got him and Alex Ramos, Mike McCallum and Alex Ramos together, and they took a picture together. And I don't think either one of them realized the circumstances fully.
Right.
And I brought it up, and it was kind of an emotional thing, And but that was, we're talking. They fought in 1980. And here they are, 2014. They're hanging out, and it was that was a cool thing. And then I also had Muhammad Ali's grandson show up, who I had sparred with the day before. We sparred the day before, and I told him, I said, man, you should come. You and your mom should come. Ali's daughter, you should come and hang out. So then Limmy Young walks in. Do you know who Limmy Young is? You remember him?
Maybe by face.
It's Joe Lewis's grandson. He was a good light heavyweight back in the 90s. So he's there, and Nico Ali is there. And so I stood up. I don't know if you remember this. I stood up and I go, hey, everybody here. I don't know if anybody has a camera, if you've figured out yet that you should take a picture. But Muhammad Ali and Joe Lewis's grandsons are standing here. You might want to get them next to each other. And we got the picture.
Yeah. That's beautiful. The next one is October 16th in LA, right?
In Los Angeles at a gym called Jackson Boxing. Right now I've got Michael Nunn coming, Alex Ramos, I got Virgil Hill, Paul Banke, I got all kinds of guys coming.
We not gonna kick you out if you come. We don't play like that. However, this is for the fighters. It's not yet. It's not yet for fans, but I just wanted y'all to know, how we stick together, how we know each other, how our friendship and bonds and rivalries and all that kind of stuff goes so far back that when y'all see it in the ring, it's real, but outside of the ring, we real too. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the other thing I want you to tell the folks about, the most important thing that you can tell the folks about, tell them about what you do for retired fighters that have sustained some injuries through this sport and or not well off because of this sport, so on and so forth. Right.
Well, contrary to popular belief, when I was a kid, I thought every fighter ended up rich and, with a big house and everything was all set. And, then I run into these guys and that's not always the case. They lose their money for different reasons. Some of these guys get hurt. Gerald McClellan, very well-known story. He got hurt against Nigel Benn. He's basically helpless. His sister takes care of him. Same thing with the great champion, Wilfred Benitez. His sister takes care of him. Pritchard Colon, who was hurt in a fight about 5 years ago, his mother takes care of him. And when I say take care of them, I mean 24 hours a day. Like, they cannot be left alone. They cannot survive on their own. They require 24-hour day care. So I know they can't be out working. They can't make money. They may, bills pile up. So I had some memorabilia, and one day Wilfred needed some money. His family needed some money for something. I forget exactly what. And so I said, man, what I'm going to do? I have this autographed glove. I'm going to sell it to a boxing fan, and I'm going to send the money to Wilfred. So I did that, and then I said, man, I got other stuff. And then I started going to events, and I would go to my reunions, and I would have guys sign stuff, gloves and posters and whatever, and just send the money to these guys. And, it's kind of caught on, and people have sent me money just for no reason. But I have stuff for sale, like on my Facebook page. I have autographed pictures. I have gloves. I have all kinds of stuff from, Roy Jones. He just signed something for me the other day. I get belts and things like that. Just trying to help the families because, Gerald McClellan is basically blind and deaf. He can't be left alone. His sister Lisa takes care of him 24 hours a day and everything that entails. And it requires food, it requires medicine, it requires, bills to be paid. So, I've been trying to get the word out and get people to donate or, and I try to give them something for it, donated items. And actually I have a autograph by a whole bunch of champions, and Shawn signed it for me a few weeks ago when he was here. He signed several things, including the glove, which I'm putting up. And, I'm just trying to bring awareness to the fact that every fighter doesn't end up as well off as a Sugar Ray Leonard and a Larry Holmes and an Oscar De La Hoya. You'd probably be surprised at how many of them don't. It needs to be, it's a bad part of the sport, but it needs to be heard.
Listen, Mr. Scully, the Porter Way podcast is going to do the best we can to help grow that, make that even bigger than it is now. We'll definitely speak off a line as we have before about that, and we'll continue to help that grow, continue to help push that through the Porter Way podcast. For at the moment, tell everybody where they can go to donate money, to take a look at the memorabilia that you have, to bid on it and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Basically, I have two Facebook pages. So one is John the Iceman Scully, and the Iceman is one word, or Iceman John Scully. Those are my two pages, and I put everything up on there on both pages. And you can message me through the messenger. And sometimes people don't even want to bid on things; they just want to send a donation. So I'll give them a PayPal address, and they can send something. And I separate it. And once in a while, those are the three guys because everybody knows them. But I help a few other fighters who I prefer not to name. They're in a position where they're just down on their luck. They're not hurt or anything. They're just, I don't want to embarrass them. So there's a few guys I help that I don't disclose. But people send me money and I just distribute it. But mostly to Gerald, Pritchard, and Wilfred.
Listen, y'all, go to those Facebook pages, hit the rewind button so you can figure out where to go and donate. This is an honest man. He does the best that he can to help support fighters who are disabled, to support fighters who are, like he said, down in their luck. I know y'all had to have enjoyed this episode. Hopefully you didn't fast forward through it. Rewind, pick up on those nuggets that Iceman laid down. We'll definitely have him back again. It's kind of late over there on the East Coast. We thank you for bearing with us as we got everything together and blessing the podcast and bringing some entertainment as well as those golden nuggets that you dropped for us.
Yes, sir. I had a lot of fun. I appreciate you guys having me. Definitely.
We'll have you back soon.
John, you got to let me ask you about James Toney, Vinny Paz, and training Chad Dawson next time on, brother. Please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I would love to.
That's where we'll go next time. We thank you, John.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
You too. I always say all the time, man, this is one of the greatest people I ever met in boxing. he really is like at the tippy top of that, and it's because I know his heart, and it's because the way the way he's moved is the way he's always moved, and it's like something my dad always says: if you watch somebody, you know what they're doing when you're not watching them. And he's the type of guy that, like my dad, he called him up. He said, "Hey, can you work with Shawn when he comes out there?" My dad knows that he's not gonna try to change who I am. My dad knows that he's not gonna try to sign me under a contract. Nothing crazy. My dad know there's not very many people in boxing that my dad trusts. That's a man right there that my dad trusts, which is enough for y'all to trust. If KP trusts him, you can trust him. You know what I mean? So definitely, we just want you guys to go on to Facebook, John the Iceman, all one word, Scully, and the other one is I think it's Iceman Scully.
Iceman John Scully, I believe.
Iceman John Scully. Go on those Facebook pages. You're bound to see something on there you want. Pay for it because it's worth it. And I will tell you that 100% of those proceeds go to certain fighters that he's reached out to. We're going to grow that and make it so that eventually everything that's going to him and his foundations and things like that is going to go across the board, and not just to specific fighters, but across the board to who needs it. I told him that the last time that I was out there with him. So again, man, this is Motivational Monday. Yeah. I love it. I hope you guys are enjoying it. And I think we had two excellent guests back to back now. So this was the last minute. I think I was like, man, I got to do something before I go out of town. So this is what I decided to do, and I think I made the right decision.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. Genuine guy too.
Yeah. I was gonna say, kind of, a dying breed. Guys like John Scully and like Ant and like Shawn, and Carson, but myself. But no, I mean, John's from like KP, and he reminded me of my father, who was an old school East Coast guy. And they're a dying breed. It's when men were men. Yeah, they're from that era, and you don't get a lot of people, not just in boxing, but in life, like John Scully now.
All of his stories are real. The dude, I'm hanging with him out there in Connecticut, and he said, da 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 da. My first grade teacher told me that. I said, what? And when I said what, I was a piece of me was telling me not to believe him, right? And then he says, oh no, it's true. She said I wouldn't sit down. I said, what? He says, yeah. And then he said her name. I said, John, how do you know her name? He says, well, I remember, but I also have the report card. I'm like, why do you have a report card from the first grade? He's a phenomenal human being. And we just want y'all to continue to start to try to support him. Continue to support the Porter Way, especially this Motivational Monday. It's only going to get bigger. We were talking offline about some of the guests we intend to have, man. So y'all don't want to miss it. Names. Pick it up now. Don't jump on the bandwagon when you see a name you know.
Or you can jump on the bandwagon.
Well, the names you don't know will have something for you too. So
he's like a super, for the Dragon Ball Z fans, he's like a Super Saiyan version of Zytel.
Yeah,
Dragon Ball.
He's Super Saiyan too. I'm Super Saiyan. It's just, he went to the next Super Saiyan.
No clue.
He's just an older guy with great wisdom. And I remember one guy was talking to me, older guy, and he's like, young man, are you going to speak and say something? I said, I was taught when older people with knowledge talk, you shut up and listen. I was just sitting there listening today. Yeah. That was just, it was crazy.
Yeah.
That could have went on for another 4 or 5 hours for me.
Oh, for sure. That's why I cut it off now. I said we at the hour, but he's somebody that we can have on over and over and over. Absolutely. So
needs a book.
He has a book. I forgot to.
We'll have him back. I need to get that.
Yeah, look, he's got a book, and he just told me that he's writing another book right now. So
I'm getting that.
Support John Iceman Scully, excellent human being. This is the Porter Way Motivational Monday. Enjoy it and continue to stay tuned to our Motivational Mondays, as well as the podcast that will be out tomorrow. God bless you guys. What's up? I'm Showtime Shawn Porter.
I'm Ant. Follow me on IG, Ant with 2 T's.
This is the Porter Way Podcast. This is Anthony Brenagh, and this is Carson Merk. Tell them what to do.
Hey, like, subscribe, comment, follow us on all social media platforms.
Subscribe.
I'm from Louisiana. I'll talk with a B. Let's do it. Let's do it again.
All right. Just introduce yourself.
Okay.
And then you tell them what to do.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Porter Way Podcast.
You're already here.
Hey, this is our outro. We're gonna do it how we want to.
I'm Showtime Shawn Porter.
I'm Anthony Brenagh.
Carson Merk. Like, subscribe, comment.
This is the Porter Way.